Sovereign Korea Corporation, the Provisional Government of the ROK. By email and certified mail, September 25, 2020. Mr. Donald J. Trump, President of the United States. The White House. Ray, why you must win the second-term presidency? 54th. Dear Mr. President, we, at the Provisional Government of the Republic of Korea, believe and wish you to win the second-term election. We would not tolerate anything different. Of course, I write today again on behalf of our legitimate President, Park Geun-hye, in lieu of Her Majesty's personal letter to you. There are a few vital issues we would like to mention before too late. 1. You ought not to entertain the foul idea of the CCP warmongers plus U.S. Democratic radicals concerning the mail voting for the U.S. presidential election. Learn, if you will, from the precedents in South Korea. Patriots in Korea are asking your favor to allow full recomputation to correct the willful manipulations. I will explain to you below why it is not a fire on the other shore. 2. You also please allow me to discuss the regime change avenues in Korea with your officers. There are enemies who are relentlessly pursuing a communist revolution in Korea, while you are busy managing your domestic affairs. Decisive action will be required as soon as the election is over. 3. Better yet, you may wish to declare in one way or another that you regard President Park as the true President of the Republic of Korea. The Korean patriots have filed up evidence demonstrating fraud in their 4.15 general election. You either have been or will be reported in detail. Unbelievably willful and conniving schemes were used by a conspiracy between the National Election Committee and Chinese industrial espionages. It is known there that the CCP directed the entire scheme for preliminary testing for the anticipating distortion and manipulation of the mail voting in the upcoming U.S. presidential election. Would they be capable? Yes, believe it or not. The gesture advanced by the willful Moon regime in Korea on the issue of Gsomya and possible future cooperation with Japan is of course another set of swindling tactics against you. Now, the foul regime attempts to divert attention to the atrocious killing of a South Korean public servant by NK Marines. You will never know who set it up, though. It happened while Moon was delivering a video speech to the UNGA, making him a negligent traitor again. In our legal analysis, it was a premeditated first-degree murder. I know you are in full guard against the nerdy follower of CCP, but it may not be enough. The nerdy pirate pretends ignorance of the legal theory of respondent superior, whereby he should be liable for all his subordinates' misconduct. Great that you properly emphasize that CCP initiated the virus warfare. Remember, we agreed on it earlier this year on the grand scheme of CCP virus WWII. Now, we are confirming in many ways that they started it aiming to influence the outcome of your presidential election in some ways. We recommend you to take a close look at the South Korean precedents of a rigged election and hopefully assist the patriots in invalidating it in its entirety. Moon has succeeded in blackmailing virtually the entire population of Korea into Chinese communist slavery by brainwash and propaganda. His deep-down intoxication was inflicted by the deep state manipulators, for example, by a man on the top of the list of traitors, who virtually broke into your Oval Office 3 years ago in vain. It would not be easy for Moon as a mere conduit to get away with their pressure. A limited version of the anomalies he has committed since the illegal takeover of sovereignty is attached to this letter for your quick review. Moon is profusely showing off himself as a traitor and terrorist, an avowed destroyer of the sovereignty of the Republic of Korea and sweet-voiced advocate of peace over war in the Korean peninsula. You must have seen the televised speech he made to the UNGA. His recount of the peace treaty idea is based on the vacuum and nonsense. You will remember that we dealt with that issue profoundly during the denuclearization process a couple of years ago. He took out that old agenda simply to disrupt otherwise smooth-sailing anti-fraud campaigns for the sake of diverting people's attention from it. What a cunning personality! That idiotic idea will not even be entertained by the warriors in the north. I can dare to predict it. Or, are they in conspiracy again? I am attaching a copy of the Mutual Defense Treaty which authorizes you to take self-defense action, that is, the regime change in South Korea. It would be based on the breaches of the alliance by illegitimate takeover of the sovereignty and subsequent terrorist activities. The attached list of treasonous activities will be a good starting point of discovering evidence to use in any court of law. It is not only your right to correct the situation but also an obligation called for by the material breach by the fake administration. South Korean populations are being tricked into a virtual death valley, estimated at several tens of millions, relentlessly carried out against international apprehension of human rights violations. They do not care what next in the path of systematic degradation of human dignity is motivated by the deep state and CCP. This ill fate that the entire Korean population is subject to can be corrected only by your courageous decision to remove the southern pirates first, who can never be educated to change their ideology or be your true friends. In my several letters to you, I explained to you that we, as the Provisional Government of the Republic of Korea, define the impeachment proceeding in Korea during 2016 to 2017 to be an act of war, an extended war of the 1950 Korean War, against the Korean Armistice Agreement. Not just a judicial malfunction. President Park is in prison, therefore, as a prisoner of war and a hostage. She ought to be afforded a law and order treatment as you emphatically pronounced recently. She is suffering from illness these days. Her prison term is over 30 years, never any realistic sentence in the freedom-loving world. Human rights are entirely ignored, while people of the world talk a lot about them for the North Korean residents. In all respects, she deserves to be reinstated and be taken care of health. She needs to be treated under the laws of the world but not under the war criminals' terrorism. The state of seizure and anarchy, therefore, is no longer a matter of domestic affairs or a matter independent of your election. It will only add glory to your victory if you can handle it at this critical moment. The moment that the Democratic Party gets hold of the better edge, the pirates in South Korea would declare they have accomplished full communization in the South and launch persecution and genocide aiming to the removal of a substantive portion of the population following the mandate by the deep state. Hard to believe? Look, there are abundant precedents from the Second World War, the Korean War, in Vietnam, and Venezuela. History is so easy to repeat. The pirates' regime is therefore clearly organized with criminals, traitors, and terrorists with wanton disregard of human life. Regime change under the treaty is well authorized and justified. Invalidation of the election, however, will most likely drive the pirates to accelerate the communizing process by staging a quick presidential election upon removal of Moon only, thereby shunning off chance of reinstatement of the legitimate president. By law, any presidential election for the next term should be set after she has finished her unfulfilled tenure. The willful scheme is, however, already detected. Some patriots are being tricked into the fake minority party which is essentially an offspring of the ruling Democratic Party. What is the inevitable alternative, then? You must, out of your initiative, remove the entire group of terrorists at once and reinstate the legitimate president, Ms. Join-Hye Park, as soon as possible. Under these dire circumstances, we recommend you to take this matter as a priority and allow me to discuss the details with the officers or senators of your choice during your campaign period. The dialogues are so timely now than ever. By the way, the majority of Korean American voters in California are supporting you, and I will deliver a speech on October 3rd to a local congregation in Koreatown for the success of your fine campaign as your advisory board member but not as an officer of this organization. Good luck, again. Very truly yours, Soo-Deok Jang, Attorney at Law, General Counsel for Sovereign Korea Corporation, a provisional government of the ROK. CC. President Join-Hye Park, Ambassador Harry Harris, Vice President Michael R. Pence, Secretary of State Michael Pompeo, Secretary of Defense Mark Esper, Senators Lindsey Graham, Ted Cruz, Cory Gardner, Marco Rubio, and more 21 on file.